There is a generation that never posts about money online. They don't talk about their portfolio at dinner parties. They won't tell you what their house is worth or what they earn. And yet, quietly, they are winning the wealth game. I'm talking about Gen X people born between 1965 and 1980. No viral finance content, no flex culture, no loud money moves. But here's the thing, silence might be the most powerful money strategy ever. While everyone else is performing wealth, Gen X is building it. And today we're going to break down exactly why that works. This isn't just a story about a generation, it's a blueprint. Gen X holds more wealth per household than any other generation right now. The average Gen X household net worth sits above $1.2 million. That's more than millennials, and closing fast on boomers. They did this without a bull market childhood or a TikTok audience. They graduated into recessions, got laid off in downturns, and kept moving. No one handed them a safety net, they built the net while falling. Think about this. They became adults before the internet existed. That one fact changes everything about how they relate to money. Here's where it gets interesting. Not talking about money is the move. When you don't announce your goals, you don't need to perform them. When you don't post your wins, you don't build an identity around them. That means your financial decisions stay purely rational, not emotional. Gen X never had a comment section judging their portfolio choices. They never got dopamine hits from strangers validating their net worth. So they built discipline the hard way through repetition and privacy. No one was watching, which meant no one could distract them either. The real wealth trap isn't bad investments, it's financial performance, anxiety. And Gen X accidentally opted out of it entirely. Now here's the core of what most people miss completely. There is a specific financial threshold where money starts behaving differently. Below it, every dollar you earn goes straight back out the door. Above it, money starts generating more money without you working harder. That threshold is different for everyone, but the behavior around it is identical. Gen X understood this threshold not from content but from watching their parents fail to cross it. They were the latchkey kids, coming home to empty houses while parents worked double shifts. They watched their parents earn decent salaries and still never get ahead. And they asked a question that changed everything. Where is all the money going? The answer they found was lifestyle inflation. Every raise their parents got was immediately absorbed by a bigger car or a nicer house. The income went up, but so did the spending, and the gap never closed. Gen X made a silent decision they would not repeat that pattern. This is the hidden mechanism, keeping your lifestyle flat while your income grows. It sounds simple, but psychologically, it is one of the hardest things a human can do, because your brain is wired to reward yourself when you earn more. That new salary hits, and your first instinct is, I deserve something for this. That instinct is not wrong, but it is expensive if you act on it every single time. Gen X learned to delay that reward loop, not eliminate it, just delay it. They bought used cars when they could afford new ones. They stayed in modest homes years after their income said they could upgrade. They cooked at home, took fewer vacations, and quietly maxed out their 401k. Now here's the crazy part. That gap between income and spending is everything. That gap is where wealth actually lives. A person earning $80,000 and spending $60,000 is building faster than someone earning $150,000 and spending $145,000. The math is brutal and simple. It's not what you earn, it's what you keep and deploy. Gen X understood this intuitively because they had no other choice. They came of age in the 1990s when 401k plans were replacing pensions. Nobody was going to take care of them in retirement. That message was crystal clear. So they started investing early, kept investing consistently, and never stopped. This is where compounding enters the picture and changes the entire story. A 25-year-old who puts $300 a month into an index fund at 8% average returns has $1 million by age 65. That same habit started at 35. Produces only $440,000 by 65. Same money, same discipline. Completely different outcome just because of time. Gen X started early, not because they were smart, but because they were scared. Fear of ending up like their parents was the fuel that built their wealth engine. And while fear is a terrible long-term motivator, it is a remarkable ignition switch. They cross the threshold, the point where the portfolio starts working harder than the person. Once you cross it, you don't need to work more. You need to not mess it up. Gen X knew how to not mess it up because they never got loud about it in the first place. The silence protected the machine they had built. This is the hidden mechanism. Quiet accumulation, cross-threshold, compounding does the rest. Here's why this is so hard for millennials and Gen Z to replicate right now. Both younger generations grew up with social media as the financial scoreboard. Every purchase, every vacation, every apartment is a signal to the social feed. And signals cost money that could have been building wealth instead. This is not a character flaw. It is a structural trap built into the platforms. Instagram and TikTok monetize aspiration. They are designed to make you want more visually. When you see someone your age with a nicer apartment, your brain registers a threat. That threat response drives spending decisions that have nothing to do with your actual goals. Gen X had no such input. Their comparison group was limited to their physical neighborhood. A modest neighborhood meant modest expectations. Modest expectations meant manageable spending. Now, here's where it gets deeper. Identity and money are dangerously intertwined. Most people spend money to feel like a certain type of person. They buy the luxury brand because it signals success to others and confirms it to themselves. Gen X was too pragmatic for that, and pragmatism, it turns out, is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's a psychological concept called the identity tax. Every dollar you spend to perform an identity rather than live your values is a tax on your future. The person buying a $70,000 truck to feel successful is paying an identity tax. The person buying the $28,000 truck and investing the difference is buying time and freedom. Gen X paid fewer identity taxes, not because they didn't care about status. They cared, but they grew up before status was continuous and digital and inescapable. This is where it escalates. The anxiety gap between generations is real and compounding. Millennials entered the workforce during the 2008 financial crisis with student debt already in hand. They started behind, and the psychological wound of that start never fully healed. So, they swung between extreme frugality and guilt spending, and both extremes cost them. Gen X didn't carry that specific wound. Their wounds were different and created different financial behavior. Surviving the early 1990s recession made them boring with money, and boring with money is rich. This is where people mess up when they try to copy the Gen X approach. They mistake the silence for passivity, and that is not what this is. Gen X was not passive. They were ruthlessly consistent behind closed doors. The mistake most people make is thinking that quiet means slow. It doesn't. Quiet means protected, consistent, uninterrupted by outside noise. The second mistake is waiting until the income feels big enough to start investing. That threshold moment never comes because lifestyle inflation always catches up first. The third mistake is treating retirement accounts like emergency funds. Every early withdrawal from a 401k doesn't just lose the money, it loses 20 to 30 years of compounding on that money. Gen X treated their retirement accounts like they were untouchable, because to them, they were. The fourth mistake is trying to optimize too early instead of just starting. The best investment strategy is the one you actually execute consistently for decades. Here is what this actually means if you're watching this today. The Gen X advantage is not generational, it is behavioral. And behavior can be copied. You can choose to stop performing wealth and start building it. You can widen the gap between your income and your lifestyle starting this month. You can automate an investment so the decision is made before the temptation arrives. You don't need a high income to start. You need a consistent gap and enough time. Even $200 a month invested at 30 becomes significant money by 55, not a fortune, but freedom. The threshold is crossable. The mechanism is available. The only variable is whether you start. You become the type of person who doesn't need to announce their moves. You become the type of person who finds security in the gap, not in the display. You become the type of person who lets time and consistency do the loud work so you don't have to. Gen X never told you about their money, but now you know exactly what they were doing with it.